First and foremost, and to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakak Yahweh is who this world ignorantly calls God. Yahweh Shai is who this world ignorantly calls Jesus. Ba'ashem means in the name, Rakah means spirit, and Kodash means holy. That's on the Paleo Hebrew. Also to give double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. Today's video, I wanted to go into how these elites, right, these Edomites, they're showing us that something is coming, right? And the reason I say that is because I have this video here of this guy. He was talking, and he's talking about, I'm going to just play it 21 seconds, but he's talking about how, hey, some type of terrorist attack is coming in the next few days, an unexpected event, right? And whenever they say something like that, it's normally because it's going to happen, right? They try to act like they didn't know, and all of a sudden, boom, exactly what they said was going to happen happens. And this is something called the revelation of the method. Here I have a description. It says confessing the truth about information, whether asserted true and actually false, or asserted false and actually true, to mock the person believing it, who is now solely responsible for continuing to believe it. It often takes the form of hiding in plain sight, ridicule, irony, and sarcasm, right? And that's something that the elites do, is the revelation of the method. Pretty much they'll show you what they're gonna do. They'll put it in all these movies, right? The Simpsons are iconic for putting things in their shows that end up somehow happening in the future. That's revelation of the method. They're putting it in front of you, and their whole idea is, hey, we showed you, right? And if you get caught in all the terror and all the chaos, you die. Hey, it's your fault because we warned you and you didn't get ready, right? It's one of their ways of pretty much looking down on us, mocking us, as it says. So I have a video here. I'm gonna play it real quick.
I just will say one last word, which is, I hope this is my last time at this podium, at least for a little while. I don't mean that in a negative sense. I mean, the only thing that would bring me back is an unexpected event in the next few days, which, as you all know, is totally possible given everything you've seen over the course of the past years. But if it is, in fact, my last time before you, I just want to say thank you for what you guys do every day. Thank you for putting up with me.
Right, and he said it right there. An unexpected event in the next few days, which is totally possible. Right, what's happening in the next few days? We have inauguration, right? January 20th, inauguration of the U.S. Capitol. The 20th Amendment to the Constitution specifies that the term of each elected president of the United States begins at noon on January 20th of the year following the election. Each president must take the oath of office before assuming the duties of the position, right? And that's ultimately what's coming, right? Is the inauguration of Trump. And hey, everybody's talking about, oh, Trump is going to save America, is going to make America great again. But I can assure you that it's going to be quite the opposite. Okay, Trump is going to be the one that really sends America to World War III. That really sends America to a fighting against all nations, right, as it says in the scriptures. So I have this video, this guy saying in front of everybody, be ready for an unexpected event. And if the funny thing is, they say it's unexpected, but if we're expecting it, how could it be unexpected? And if they are in the know-so of, terrorists being in America, if they already know there's terrorists in here, then why don't they do something about it? So there's a lot of cracks in this story, and, it just doesn't make sense the way they portray it. But here I also have a public service announcement on January 13th, 2025. Threat of copycat attacks after ISIS-inspired vehicle attack in New Orleans. Right, and that right there, when you go into the New Orleans attack, pretty much on New Year's, that was something that this guy right here on YouTube, this is a false prophet, but ultimately the Lord showed him a vision that actually came to pass. And I'm going to play it after I read this, but I'm just going to show another prophecy taking effect. But stay on one thing at a time. It says the Federal Bureau of Investigation (FBI) and Department of Homeland Security are issuing this public servant announcement to highlight a potential public safety threat from violent extremists in response to the New York Year's Day attack in New Orleans, Louisiana. As with any potential threats to the United States, we will coordinate with our state and local law enforcement partners to ensure they have the resources and information necessary to keep our communities safe. The FBI and DHS are concerned about possible copycat or retaliatory attacks due to the persistent appeal of vehicle ramming as a tactic for aspiring vehicle violent extremist attackers. Previous attackers inspired by foreign terrorist organizations who have conducted vehicle attacks in the United States and abroad have used rented, stolen, and personally owned vehicles, which are easy to acquire. Some have used additional weapons such as firearms and knives to attack individuals after the vehicle has stopped. Additionally, attackers may attempt to conceal and pre-position improvised explosive devices to supplement a vehicle attack. Targets have included pedestrians, law enforcement, or military members, and crowded public venues, including festivals and commercial centers, which generally are accessible from motorways. We ask that the public remain vigilant regarding possible copycat or retaliatory attacks and report any suspicious activity to law enforcement. Right, so summarizing it, they're going into how be ready for more terrorist attacks like the one in New Orleans, where the terrorists run into a giant crowd, with the van, and after the van has hit everybody, they hop out and start shooting, or they blow up the van, as they hit everybody, run out of the van, explode it, or another tactic they use is run into a crowd, shoot everybody up. Once police comes, first aid responders, another person comes, or that same person in that car has a suicide vest and pretty much kills the first responders too. So the double whammy. And the fact of the matter is that these Al Qaeda, ISIS terrorists, they're getting more and more creative. So the way they did it in the beginning, they're not going to do it the same way the next time. They're going to improvise and ultimately try to get rid of as many people as possible. And ultimately this is all the will of the Lord. The Lord is in control of everything. It says that He kills and He makes alive, and He has spirits created for vengeance. So they're telling you right in front of you, hey, be ready, right? And we know that the media is one of Satan's devices, right? This is 2 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 11. It says, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices, right? We are not ignorant of the devices that these devils have, right? Which, like I said, the media, being one of their greatest tools, right? News, TV, all that is pretty much mind control, right? Because all of it is controlled. All of it is propaganda. Whatever you see in the news is what the government wants you to believe, and majority of the times it's not the truth. That's why media goes into medium. The TV is the medium or the middleman of pretty much controlling you. So let's go into this video now, going into how the Lord is moving. Here we have a scripture. This is Joel chapter 2 and verse 28 says, and it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, right? All flesh. And your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, your old men shall dream dreams, your young men shall see visions, and also upon the servants and upon the handmaids in those days will I pour out my spirit. And this goes into how the Lord was going to have everybody. It doesn't matter if you're an Edomite, you're an Ishmaelite, you're wicked, you believe in Islam, and He was going to have it so everybody was going to start having visions, of what's coming, dreams, voices in their dreams of what's coming, and it actually taking place. And this guy right here, it seemed like that's exactly what happened, right? But I'm just noting real quick, this guy's a false prophet. This guy's a false prophet. He's pushing that false name Jesus and that doctrine that God loves everybody and all God does is love. Right? When you go into the comments, you have comments talking about how, hey, Jesus come back, save America. When if they were to actually understand the scriptures, they'd understand that who the world calls Jesus, his true name being Yahweh Shai, and He is with us, right? The Lord is the one in control of all this, and if you understood prophecy, you would know that it's been prophesied that America is going to fall. It's the will of the Lord that America is going to fall. It's prophecy that America is going to be destroyed by nuclear missiles. So, all these people are being deceived, But let me play this video showing you that the Lord gave this guy a prophecy, and the Lord is working right now. He's working a quick time.
Oh, are these all on the same day? I I pray over Las Vegas, Lord. Oh, it is. Interesting. Now I just seen events in New Orleans, Bourbon Street. It is an attack simultaneously when people are distracted. When people are distracted, with drinking, much drinking in these areas, with intoxication in these areas, on these streets that I'm seeing. There's people that are very intoxicated. Their senses are not alerted for what's happening, and these areas are picked. These bars. There's bars. It's not as strong in New Orleans as Tennessee and Nevada, as Tennessee and Las Vegas, as Nashville and Las Vegas, the party scene. There's something about New Orleans, but it's not as strong as what I see about these two places. There's something more. It's like one and many. But I would say New Orleans is darker. There's just one man and many. It's a master plan. There's more than just these two, the Lord says. There's more than just these two. He's given me a glimpse into these two, though. Father, there's more. Now, where? So you want to just tell me to pray over this? The city was New Orleans. And it was interesting because I only saw one individual in New Orleans. Now, whenever it spread, the New Orleans thing was not as hot. Like, I want to say...
And by the way, he's putting the news of it actually happening, the reports on New Year's. So this was 2 months before New Year's. He had this vision.
In the vision, it was not as intense to be concerned about that as much as what I saw in Nashville, Tennessee. Whenever I saw Nashville, Tennessee, and was interceding for Nashville, it was a very strong Holy Spirit check. It's like, there's something there. And then I saw a major event taking place in Nashville. Then I saw in Las Vegas. And what I thought was really interesting was it was all Middle Eastern men. Like terrorists, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, that's who it was. But like those kind of people. But they were and they were attacking bar areas. Places that they thought were unholy. Like, which Christians should too. But, places that they thought the infidels were it was a place of, they're even a blasphemous place, as I say, a bar, getting drunk, doing things that were dancing or being immoral in these cities. That's all I was shown in the visions was like those bar lights, like on the signs in the windows. So in the vision, people were being hurt in those visions from MASH Pop House, in those areas, because of the bars. And I was like seeing honky tonk dancing and stuff, and then I seen people in Las Vegas on the strip and things happening there. And then that's what the Lord showed me. It was, this is a planned thing, and it would happen at the same time. It was a multi event that would happen all in one night, like a boom, boom, boom. The Lord also showed me terrorist attacks starting to try to take place in Europe. I saw terrorist attacks in Europe. I saw terrorist attacks coming out of Toronto, and I saw terrorist attacks coming into Pennsylvania and New York, and very strong terrorist activities trying to take place and shake the world.
We are on the cutting edge of technology where we're using API alerts. What does that mean?
And the fact he said that this is also going to take place in Europe. When I have this video, let me see the brother that posted it. Going into this woman talking on this podcast, literally saying the same thing. And what he said about New Orleans, that took place. The Las Vegas one where the guy blew himself up in the Tesla Cybertruck, that took place. So he was spot on too. Just on New Year's, the Nashville one, Tennessee didn't happen. But it could happen in these coming days. Nothing's off the board. But let me see the brother that it was. Arrows of Indignation. It was... And this video is crazy, man. This right here. I'm going to play this one. And let me actually get a scripture before I go. This is Daniel chapter 12 and verse 1. It says, the time of the end. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. Right, and it's going to be so bad that the Archangel Michael is going to have to stand up and protect us. Right, a time such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. So looking at all of human history, all the terrific wars, things that have happened, it's going to be all that and more and worse. Right, so just imagine the death that is coming. Okay, and if you're not written in that book, going into the book of life, the elect, you're not going to be delivered. Okay, you're going to be destroyed and just be another statistic, So, let me play this video.
seen, I told you about the camps, right? That there's the advanced urban warfare. So we think it's going to look like October 7th, but it's actually based on, and October 7th was probably also based on it. It's based on the Mumbai attacks that occurred 15 years ago in Delhi, India. And we believe this for multiple reasons.
What
One,
happened though? Before we dig into
yeah, we talked about this. I think it was my first episode. It was basically a terrorist group, Lashkar-e-Taiba. They did a number. It's called swarming attacks. They did a number of attacks in New Delhi, at a hotel, the Taj Mahal, I believe it was called, at like basically the train station, etc. The interesting thing about it, and this is why they're going to employ it now, is those terrorists were given kind of like latitude. One, they could change the location they were attacking, and they could change the modus operandi they were using. So, for example, when they went in the train station, it was supposed to be a bombing. When they got in there, they said, "Wow, we can kill more people just shooting them than putting the bomb together," and it shot them. Another thing that they did is, in real time, information was being passed to them. So when they were in the Taj Mahal, they were being told what was on the press and what the police were doing, and they changed basically some of their movements in the hotel to make the attack last longer. Okay, so this is the part that's going to be different, right? So Al-Qaeda always wants to innovate when it does its next attack, right? So I've already told you about the innovation of the suicide vest. Well, do you know we really haven't had a suicide bombing in the United States ever? There's the Nashville guy who did the strange, blew himself up in the car early in the morning when no one was around. That's kind of it.
the AT&T building?
Yep. So we have not had a man walk into a building with a suicide vest on the United States. Americans don't understand this. Al-Qaeda knows this, right? So this is new and innovative, especially now. You don't have to walk outside of the building. You can walk in the building because of the advancement of the vest. The other thing is, in the United States, we haven't had Fidayeen attackers. You know what this is? I mean, you'll know when I explain it. If you fought in, like, I don't know, Ramadi, Fallujah, you've seen these. So the concept is the terrorist fights to the death. So he's not exactly a suicide bomber, but he will fight till either all of us are dead or all of his people are dead, right? So this can go on for multiple days. You know, like the plan was for Mumbai, for example. So we think it's going to be a swarming attack, right? Multiple different attacks at one time across multiple cities. We think there will be suicide bombers just because some of
You know, swarming attacks. What that guy said.
attackers went through suicide bomber training and they have these vests, right? And then we think there's these Fidayeen attackers who will carry on until they're killed. The Fidayeen matters, right? I was watching, I want to say it was like 8 months ago.
Let me just rephrase that. So these guys are trained, and we already overlaid the video of their training, and they are going to fight until they're killed.
Yes.
There's no stopping them.
Exactly. And that matters, right? So I was watching this video, and it was a suicide bombing in Kabul years ago. And it was, the bomber blew up, okay? And then everyone starts moving in, the first responders move in, right? And then another guy walks in and blows up. We know this is a tactic, right? But if Americans don't understand this as a tactic and don't understand these attackers are going to fight to the death, think about that. So battle's going on, the attacker surrenders, right? He might have a suicide vest, you know, we let our guard down. That man came to die, right? He's going to fight till he dies or you dies. So we can't let our guards down, and they know our weakness, right? So we have to be very careful that we don't have more people dying in second and third order effects of not knowing their intent.
What kind of places do you think they're going to target?
So this is what's complicated. So Al-Qaeda's preference, as you can imagine, is symbols of the U.S. or anything that causes economic damage, right? So Capitol is a great symbol. Capitol was actually in, I think the Capitol is, a lot of people are targeting it, but the Capitol was in their propaganda just as 9/11 when they were memorializing 9/11, right? So the Capitol matters. I feel like bridges or any kind of public transportation always matters because it puts costs against us and it causes fear. But here's where it gets complicated. So remember, the terrorists might have their goal is they're going to attack the metro in D.C., right? But remember, some of these terrorists are going to be ISIS. And remember, they can change location. So the ISIS guy might go down the metro and say, there's not many people down here, I'll kill 20, but there's an event going on, I'm going to go up there, right? Because ISIS is a little different. ISIS just wants mass casualty. So it's going to be interesting how it works with terrorists that came from different backgrounds and when they get choice.
So some of these terrorist organizations are looking for very strategic stuff like U.S. Capitol, you know, basically U.S. governmental infrastructure and elites. And then on the other hand, you have what I'm used to seeing when we were over there. They just look for the easiest, biggest target because they want to kill the most amount of people in the quickest amount of time and get the most press out of it. And so that would lead me to believe universities, churches, stadiums.
Farmers markets, those type of things.
How many fighters do you think we can expect in each attack?
Well, the 1,000 is all of them. So we're calling it, it's an Al-Qaeda planned attack, but within those 1,000 terrorists, some of them are ISIS because they want ISIS to be blamed. We have a theory on it. I hate to throw out theories. We think the actual, like...
It's the first time I think you've ever thrown out a
I know.
theory.
I just think people are just crazy. I think the more of the fighter types are going to be ISIS because then if they're caught, you know, then they talk about ISIS. So I think the more the suicide bombers are going to be Al-Qaeda.
Will these attacks, do you think these attacks will happen simultaneously throughout the United States? Or will they be one day here, next day here, another one here next week?
So they want them coordinated. I don't know if coordinated means all at the same time, or coordinated means we do it Monday, we do it Tuesday, we do it Wednesday, we do it Thursday, we do it Friday, we just do 5 straight days. So that they want it coordinated. What's coordinated mean? And the other argument we have, does coordinated also mean US and Europe at the same time? And is Europe all coordinated at the same time? So when they say coordinated, we don't know exactly what that means. So they could also be US and Europe at the same time.
Right there, and that's the point I wanted to get also is we hear this from this woman, CIA targeter saying it. This guy said he saw it in a vision, how Europe is also going to be getting hit. You know, try to take place in Europe. I saw terrorist attacks coming out of Toronto too. So, things are lining up.
Do you think Europe will see mass casualties? Or earlier you kind of mentioned that you think that the primary target in Europe is still U.S. embassies.
No, that's for the wave. So remember, there's a wave of embassy attacks, but then there's this multi-coordinated attack, a completely separate wave of attacks. So they're going to get the same October 7th attack in Europe as we're getting in the U.S. as planned right now anyway. And they also, so 1,000 terrorists were supposedly trained for the U.S. and deployed, and 1,000 were supposedly trained for the Europe attack and deployed. The embassy plots are completely different with completely different trained terrorists.
Why haven't they?
Right, so there's information that these terrorists are already in here. You know, they're trained. So, how do they have this information? If they have this information, why haven't they done something about it? You know, these are the real questions.
Because the training takes the time.
And you know the answer because they're in on it.
They're here though.
Supposedly. Yeah.
Okay,
They already got here.
Let me ask, how long have they been here?
I'm not sure, but if we just do math quick, okay? Israel, they trained 500 terrorists, right? They got a longer timeline, but they were planning to train 500 in 3 months, right? 2 months. So they're going to train 500 in 2 months for Israel. So for Israel, they did it really quick, but it would have been half-assed. They roughly ended up with a year and a half. But then remember, I told you they had to train 10,000 for Syria. And I think that gets completely ignored, okay? So they have this huge number, and we just saw what the effect of it, right? So the 10,000 for Syria, and some went to Iraq, became the priority. And then we think the homeland attackers were in there. And then that's training's done too, if that makes sense. So they are training for multiple phases at the same time, so it takes time to get through all the training.
Man, this stuff scares the shit out of me.
Right, and it's funny he said that this stuff scares the shit out of me, but if he knew about how all this was Bible prophecy and he was serving the Lord in truth and sincerity, there's nothing to be scared of, right? Because the same way the Lord said that destruction is coming is the same way he said salvation and protection, coverings, a hedge is coming towards his believers. So you got to believe that too. So that was some heavy information right there, and this guy said it's about to be a hell zone out here. Let's get to this in Matthew chapter 24 and verse 21. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And except those days should be shortened, there shall no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Right, so it's going to be a time like never before seen since the beginning of the world. And if Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai doesn't shorten these days, nobody's going to be left. Right, because it's going to end up in a full-on nuclear warfare. So, but for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. So he's speeding things up. He's speeding up the time. And Lord willing, we start seeing some big attacks go down. We start seeing some civil war. Trump really starts moving prophecy. Because the faster everything goes down, the faster the kingdom of heaven is established. So, I'll leave it at that. Hopefully this was edifying. With that, and give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai Ba'Shem Rokak Wadash. Double honors to the other bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. Shalom to you, like Shalom.